This is another episode of The Observation Station. Something slightly different today. We're going to be looking at a self-tape from a friend and colleague, Ethan McKinley. He auditioned for quite a big project for, I think it was Resident Evil, I believe, and was down to the final selection. So he very kindly agreed to let me use his self-tape for analysis to show you guys the do's, maybe a few don'ts, but some really interesting technical choices and acting choices that you can implement into your self-tapes and acting in general to help you to secure the job, much like he nearly did. Yeah, let's jump straight in, shall we?
Can you imagine how much blow this surface has seen?
It's always snowing in LA. Kiss you clear.
Okay, not even 5 seconds in, let's talk about some of the things that we notice. So, in self-tapes in particular, I always like to, for myself and everybody else I'm helping self-tape, wardrobe, I guess if necessary, makeup is particularly important. You want to make the scene look as close to the final thing as possible, and the way you style yourself and your wardrobe will help do that. We want to help you suspend your disbelief. And what do we see here? Ethan has on the military garb, a flak jacket, flashlight, earpiece, etc. So he's already selling that he is part of or some kind of ex-US military. Very strong choice. I like it. Let's keep going. All right, another little thing there, very quickly. So he's already set up his eye line to the person, to one person he's speaking to, slightly off camera. So that's the main other reader in the scene. He also just threw a line behind him to indicate that there are other people searching other rooms. It's very subtle, and it's done so with such deftness and nuance that you don't really notice it. But all of these little things help set up the scene. Whenever I'm teaching students, I always have the who, what, and where. Who you are, what is happening, and where are you? And that's essentially part of the 3D mapping to make everything feel lived in and alive. And he did that just in that little moment, throwing that line off and picking an eye line for the person he's speaking to. Let's keep going.
Hey, guys. Guys, check this out. Holy shit. God, who buys this stuff? Quite the douchebag, huh?
Interesting piece here, actually. So he's using the hand light to interesting effect to show that he's actually looking at something, and using everything around the main camera to show that he's looking at some sort of wall. And he's using depth perception, which some people say is a no-no, but I think using depth perception in a scene is really important to establish the physics of the scene and some level of mobility. Very nuanced sort of performance of him discovering whatever it is he's looking at the wall there. Really draws you in, didn't overact it, very subtly done, and the way he threw the line back to his other colleagues. Very well done. Let's carry on.
This guy didn't make it. I'm a proud cinephile, and this guy deserves to be shitted out by a rotter for what he did.
Yeah? You just don't like him because he turned down your dumb teen centaur rom-com screenplay.
I don't like him because he can't recognize a $1 billion franchise when he sees one.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Move on, Jackson. The room's clear anyway.
Okay.
Let's go.
Oh, yeah. This is what I'm talking about. A place to unwind after a hard day's slaying.
Again, notice the other lady came in, changed his eye line to her there, and then he also threw his eye line off to the other person that he was speaking to, which slightly changed position, but he kept the geography natural and consistent, so you knew who he was speaking to when. Very subtle, nuanced performance as well. He's coming close to the camera, so most of his performance was done through his eyes and very naturalistic dialogue. Very well done. Let's carry on. Next scene.
Hard day slaying. You.
Yes. Me, who saved you from that corpse in the valley.
I went to high school with that guy.
Funny.
All right, so very good listening there. A lot of people focus on just their dialogue when they're performing. If you notice that when he was listening to the other person speaking, you could see he was actively listening and slowly taking in the information and letting that have an organic effect on him before he gave his line. This creates a very naturalistic tennis between he and the person off camera. Now, you guys wouldn't know this, but the lines of the other character are recorded and dropped in later because Ethan can't always get a reader in. And for lots of actors, it's difficult to get a reader in to do it live. You can do it usually via Skype, or a lot of people prefer to do it in person. Ethan very cleverly has found a way to perform his scenes basically to nothing and then have other people drop the dialogue in. So it's to his credit that he's able to react to dialogue that isn't even there in the first instance and still make it look very natural. Also, I'll say, this is a personal preference. He's sitting down in this scene in general. That might be a space availability on his part. I will always say, in general, it just helps for your physicality, your dialogue and immersion if you are in a similar position that the character is in. So if the character's standing, I'll say stand. If the character's sitting, I'll say sit in the scene. He's sitting in both scenes. He makes it work, doesn't detract, but I do think it may have added something physically if he was standing. But in this instance, I don't think it hinders the scene, so I won't harp on it too much.
Hey, Slam. You.
Yes. Me, who saved you from that corpse in the valley.
I went to high school with that guy.
Funny. He didn't seem to recognize you.
Brad?
It's getting worse out there, you know. Way worse. You know, I grew up here, don't you? Just breaks my heart.
That's the end of that. So what I really liked about that last scene, it was a bit of a change of pace, change of tone. And again, even though he was sitting in a chair, I think in that scene actually it fit the scene that he was sitting in the chair. The very naturalistic use of the depth of coming in and outside of the camera to show intimacy. He also looked away to show that the girl came in and then sat down in front of him. So eye lines are very important. Whenever I help people with self-tapes or any sort of on-screen acting, having definitive sight lines and following the people where they are helps the audience have a sense of navigation and realism within the scene, as well as understanding and controlling your physicality and tonality. So if you notice in that last scene, he was much more softer in his tone, and he used his eyes and his voice and his physicality to show a different side of the character. It's a bit more, let's just say, army-like, slightly comedic and brash in the other ones, playful. This one, a softer drop in the voice, a much more relaxed, calm, reflective side as he opens up emotionally to the other character. And very subtle, nuanced delivery of dialogue, showing a slight hint of vulnerability as well. So, in closing, there's a few things you should always think about when you're doing a self-tape. Number one, to the best of your ability, you should think about the framing and the lighting. Very important, get good lighting and think about putting yourself in the right frame. Number two, costume. The more you look like the person, it will help you get into character and it will help you sell the world that you're living in. Number three, use of eye lines and physicality, as well as syncing that with your voice. So if you've got two people in a scene, know where those two people are. It helps with the detail and nuance of the scene, as well as giving geography to the scene and understanding the depth perception and physicality, so that you can use that to also tell a physical story in the scene. Everything we do has a meaning. Everything. The way we use our hands, the way we look, our eye lines, our tone of voice, when we look away, when we don't look away, if we're playing with our gadgets or anything. Everything is a choice, and it's important that you understand what you are communicating at all times. So, I hope that helped you guys. Unfortunately, Ethan didn't get that one, but he got very close, and we used this to help you guys learn some valuable tips. So yeah, got much more stuff coming, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and until the next one, peace out.